Hello there. How's it going? Good. So all set.
Now we're completely winging it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
We'll see how it all goes. Theory should be okay.
I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, no, that'd be nice to get this done because I'm sure that you guys, lots of other stuff. You're putting a lot of time into this.
Not so much me, just get this all sorted out.
Yeah, for sure.
Discovering that we still did in fact have the projector somewhere. And it works.
Even better. Well, that's fantastic.
We'll see how the live stream goes. The Wi-Fi is pretty connections.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know, is it being recorded or watched? Both, okay. Okay, perfect. Okay. That's good. I'll have somewhere that I can point people to that's working that you can bridge. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think the plan for now is we're going to do the live stream, so even if it's a little sketchy area,
yeah. Exactly. Sounds perfect. Yes. It's going to be an interesting 3 hours, that's for sure. No, myself, I'm just here to let folks know what's going on. There's a little bit, yes. That we have, actually, we have a small ad in the paper this week from Slam. Specifically,
Mayor's just going to the washroom and it's coming, so.
basically thanking the fire
Is this on? No?
for your quick reply, updating a little bit on what happened, status of the building. Yeah, so actually that came straight from Slam.
Good afternoon. Oh. Blue. Give me a green light.
Might be off from that.
Yeah, it sounds like the cause is still being, I think the cause is still being looked at. But they didn't want to let folks know that nobody was hurt. I think they said it's still being investigated. They wanted to assure folks that the building wasn't sure.
Try again.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure it was a shock. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the paper that's coming out. It's on Wednesday.
At least we just figured it out while the mayor's still going.
So yeah, there'll be something in the paper on next day. Likewise.
Good afternoon. I'm going to just ask if everyone wouldn't mind coming to take a seat. Thank you so much for joining us. The mayor is going to get us started here in just a moment. Ready for you when you're ready. The mic, do you want it on the stand?
No, I think that my notes would be better like this. I'll do it this one. Nope.
Oh, no, we want it on there.
Good afternoon, everybody. Maybe I'll give you a chance to settle in and we'll get started. So good afternoon and welcome everybody to the Sioux Lookout Housing Forum. I'm Mayor Doug Lawrence, and it's my privilege and honor on behalf of council and the municipality to welcome you here. And a special welcome to everybody who's traveled in from out of town. Not to say that those who live in town aren't welcome. I see a lot of familiar faces here. We begin by acknowledging that we are on the traditional territory of the Laxwell First Nation within the area of Treaty 3, and that many of the people we serve and the communities we serve here in Sioux Lookout are in Treaties 5 and 9. We're privileged to work on this land and to collaborate with many First Nations in building a strong and inclusive future for our community. When I moved to Sioux Lookout in 1985, the town was undergoing a significant change. Many thought the town was dying. The Cold War was nearing an end, and it was determined the Russians weren't coming across our northern frontier. So the Canadian Armed Forces closed down the Salmon Lake radar base. And with that, we lost 200 jobs in Sioux Lookout. At about the same time, CNR cut the cabooses off the trains, and we lost many more jobs. And the forestry industry wasn't exactly thriving at that time. That was in the mid-1980s, and despite all those losses, when I moved here, it took a year to find a house that I could move my family into. Housing was in short supply. Turns out the town wasn't dying. The town's role as a service hub for the people who live in the 30 First Nation communities north of here and around here was growing in leaps and bounds. Not only bringing new jobs and people to Sioux Lookout, but also bolstering existing businesses, services, and jobs that were here already. The shortage of housing that I have heard about from people who moved here in the 1970s, that I experienced in the 1980s, and that continues today, is more than just a shortage. It is a huge opportunity. And as we know, opportunities are often framed by challenges. We know that the challenges around our housing opportunities are complex, but we also know that solutions come when people connect. That's what this forum is all about. We want to be clear, Sioux Lookout is open for development. We're committed to being a development-friendly municipality that supports housing through information sharing, proactive planning, and collaborative partnerships. Today is a reflection of the kind of work that we are committed to as a municipality, bringing people together, sharing knowledge, and making space for partnerships to grow. Whether you're a developer, a service provider, or a resident with an interest in housing, your presence here today speaks to a shared goal. We all want to see more housing options in Sioux Lookout. As we consider the opportunities and challenges, let's endeavor to think broadly about needs. Let's think about how sometimes the solution to one set of needs will have a domino effect of easing another set of needs. For example, small mobility-friendly units and assisted housing units for overhoused older adults can free up single-family homes for younger families. Perhaps an accessory dwelling or a secondary unit will make housing affordable for both the main unit owner and the tenant. The housing needs in our community span across sectors: social to private, apartments to single-family homes, rental to ownership, supportive housing to condominiums. The housing needs in our community span across people's unique capacities and include people with mobility and cognitive challenges, people with limited finances, and people with adequate finances, people with automobiles, and people without personal transportation. The housing needs in our community span across the country and the world. Talk to employers who have job vacancies and willing applicants from across Canada, across the globe, willing to move here if only there was housing. Some employers with the capacity to do so have bought, built, created housing for employees. This includes both public and private sector. This says a lot about both the need and the confidence. Real estate has always been a good investment at Sioux Lookout. Over the decades, the value of housing in Sioux Lookout has not seen the dramatic ups and downs seen elsewhere in Canada. The value of housing in Sioux Lookout has only increased steadily. Sioux Lookout continues to be a great opportunity for investment in housing. You'll hear about some exciting announcements today, updates on housing developments that have been made possible through municipal support and advocacy. These are concrete examples of how we're working to facilitate housing growth in our community. Following the speaker sessions, I encourage you to take time to visit the tables around the room. You'll have a chance to speak with developers, service providers, and municipal representatives to learn more about potential opportunities and partnerships. Speaking of municipal representatives, I would like to acknowledge and thank the staff who have worked so hard to make this event a reality. Thank you very much. From conversations I've had over the years with developers, investors, contractors, our staff working on community initiatives, development services, planning are second to none. If you haven't done so yet, I encourage you to work with them, with us, and find out yourselves about another of Sioux Lookout's many advantages, our municipal staff. To start us off this afternoon, I'd like to invite our development services manager. Can I locate him? There he is, yeah. Jody Brinkman, to provide an overview of municipal planning and zoning regulations. Jody will also introduce our new accessory dwelling unit guide, an important tool that we hope will inspire more creative and flexible housing solutions throughout Sioux Lookout. Thank you again for being here, and let's keep working together to make Sioux Lookout a place where housing works for everyone. Thank you. Jody?
Welcome, everyone. What's that? Sorry, say that again?
PowerPoint.
Yeah. Oh, I just... Okay, thanks everyone. Sorry, my public speaking abilities are limited, so bear with me. This is an overview of municipal land use framing work for housing, and basically centered around Sioux Lookout here. So land use planning framework in Ontario. We have the Planning Act, other legislation such as the Environmental Protection Act, among others. The Provincial Policy Statement, which is a guiding document for our zoning bylaw and official plan, then the official plan and zoning bylaw, which are at municipal level. The Planning Act is a provincial legislation that sets out the ground rules for land use planning in Ontario. It describes how land uses may be controlled and who may control them. The land use is controlled by the Planning Act, includes housing developments, associated uses such as parking spaces and public parks. The Planning Act provides the basis for considering provincial interests, such as providing a full range of housing options and promoting sustainable development. Preparing municipal land use documents such as official plans and zoning bylaws help guide future development. Dividing land into separate developable lots to facilitate local development and growth. Ensuring the rights of local citizens are to be notified about certain proposed developments, like zoning bylaw amendments, official plan amendments, subdivision plan approvals, and things like that. Other provincial legislation that has to be considered: the Municipal Act, the Ontario Building Code Act, Environmental Protection Act, Water Resources Act, Land Titles Act. The Provincial Policy Statement. Under Section 3 of the Planning Act, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing may issue policy statements on matters related to land use planning that are of provincial interest. The current provincial planning statement came into effect in October of 2024. The policies contained in the PPS applies province-wide, and all local planning decisions must be consistent with these policies. The role of the municipality in land use planning: preparing planning policy and bylaws such as the official plan and zoning bylaw, making local decisions in regards to official plan amendment applications, zoning bylaw amendment applications, minor variances, consents, which is the division of land, subdivision, and condominium applications. Ensures planning decisions and planning documents are consistent with the provincial policy statement and provincial legislation. The official plan describes the municipal council's policies on how land in our community should be used, developed. It is prepared with input from the community and ensures that future development meets the needs of the community. An official plan deals mainly with issues such as where new housing will be located, what services such as roads and parks will be needed, when and in what order parts of the community will grow, community improvement incentives. The current Sioux Lookout official plan was adopted in November of 2018, has been in effect since July of 2019. Next year we'll be looking at a big, like a public process and an update of the official plan to kind of help with the changing times. Yeah. Then we have the zoning bylaw. The zoning bylaw sets out the use of specific lands in our community. The zoning bylaw is very specific in that the zoning bylaw contains specific regulations on how you can develop a specific lot in the community. The zoning bylaw establishes zones to regulate development. Each zone contains provisions on permitted uses, minimum lot area, frontage and setback requirements, maximum lot coverages, and building height. The provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to a lot depend on the zone that it is located in. In addition to specific regulations, the zoning bylaw contains general provisions on parking, accessory buildings, and structures. How does land use policies and legislation promote housing development? In 2022, the province amended the Planning Act by adding Section 35.1 to permit up to 3 dwelling units on all urban residential lands. Urban residential lands refer to parcels of land that are within a settlement area in a municipality on which the principal residential use is permitted and is served by municipal water and sewage systems. The permitted 3 dwelling units in accordance with Section 35.1 may be a combination of the following: 2 units in a detached house, semi-detached house, or townhouse, if no accessory building contains more than 1 unit. 3 units in a detached house, semi-detached house, or townhouse if no accessory building contains any unit. 1 unit in an accessory building if the detached house, semi-detached house, or townhouse contains no more than 2 units. The provisions of the Planning Act take precedence over any municipal bylaw to the extent of any conflict between a municipal bylaw and the Planning Act. And this outlines the urban settlement area, which is basically, there are some properties that don't have direct access to municipal water and sewer, but for the most part they do. The municipal zoning bylaw includes mid and high density residential zones such as residential type 2, R2, and multiple residential, the RM zone. The R2 zone permits a range of residential development from single detached dwellings to a 4-plex, maximum lot coverage of 50%. And you'll see the R2 zone is generally on the outskirts of your commercial areas. The RM zone, residential, multiple residential zone, permits a wide range of residential development from single detached dwellings to apartments and a maximum lot coverage of 50%. And you'll see some of the RM zones there. The municipal zoning bylaw includes a low-density R residential type 1, R1 zone that permits single detached dwellings. However, with section 35.1 of the Planning Act in effect, all R1 zone properties within urban Sioux Lookout may be developed with up to 3 dwelling units. And you'll see the R1 zone typically is kind of away from the commercial downtown areas, more of the suburban areas. The municipality community improvement plan. The municipality of Sioux Lookout has established a community improvement plan to make funds available to residents undertaking various projects, such as adding secondary dwelling units in an already developed property and renovation of existing buildings. Application for grants are typically open from January to the end of February every year. So this will be $3,000 per unit, up to a maximum of $9,000. Affordable housing strategy. The Council of the Municipality of Sioux Lookout adopted an affordable housing strategy at the February 19th, 2025 council meeting. The affordable housing strategy focuses on increasing new housing development, encouraging renovations and upgrades to existing housing, promoting sustainable, environmentally friendly housing, increasing housing density to optimize infrastructure and reduce sprawl, and support inclusive neighborhoods. Some of the short-term recommended initiatives in the strategy include streamlining services such as building permitting and planning application processes, creating a secondary dwelling unit resource to promote residential intensification, and enhance public education and awareness on housing development. And then we have the secondary unit guide. What is a secondary dwelling unit? A secondary dwelling unit is a self-contained dwelling unit with a private kitchen, bathroom facilities, and sleeping area. A secondary dwelling unit may be located within a principal dwelling or a building/structure accessory to the principal dwelling. Adding a secondary dwelling unit can provide many benefits for homeowners and the community, including independent living for a family member, rental income, and providing homes in areas where municipal services, schools, and transit already exist. What is an accessory dwelling unit? An accessory dwelling unit is a dwelling unit located within a non-residential building or a building accessory to a non-residential use. An example of an accessory dwelling unit is an apartment located on the second floor of a commercial building. Then we have the different types of secondary accessory dwellings. So you can have the basement converted into an accessory dwelling unit. The advantage of the basement or a secondary dwelling unit, the advantage is you can utilize the entire basement, where like with the accessory buildings or additions, the maximum would be 56 square meters, about 600 square feet. You can retrofit the second floor to include separate kitchen and hygiene facilities. In addition, it can be within a detached garage, whether it's kind of on the second level or room and attic truss, or as a standalone structure on your property. Accessory dwelling units within a non-residential building. This type of dwelling unit may occupy the same building as a commercial, institutional, and other non-residential use building, and must have an entrance separate from the main entrance of the principal non-residential use. Secondary dwelling unit within a principal dwelling unit. So you can have a maximum of 1 secondary dwelling unit within the principal dwelling unit. 1 parking space must be provided for the secondary dwelling unit. The secondary dwelling unit shall not exceed 56 square meters unless it occupies the entirety of the basement. Secondary dwelling units developed on lands that are not fully serviced by municipal water and sewer may require approvals from the Northwest Health Unit. And then this is a bit of a site plan showing, I know it's probably hard to make out, but in the guide we have, you'll be able to see that a little more clearly. It's kind of where they're being located and setback requirements and things like that. Secondary dwelling unit within an accessory building. A secondary dwelling unit within an accessory building shall not exceed 40% of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling unit, up to a maximum of 56 square meters. A secondary dwelling unit shall only be permitted as an in an accessory structure building that complies to the minimum setback requirements for the principal dwelling. Within the residential type 1 and residential type 2 zones, the minimum rear yard setback for an accessory building containing a secondary dwelling unit is 3 meters. A secondary dwelling unit may occupy part of a private garage to a maximum of 56 square meters, or the upper story of a 1.5-story private garage. One additional parking space must be provided for the secondary dwelling unit. A secondary dwelling unit within an accessory building that is not serviced by municipal water and sewage may require applicable approvals from the Northwest Health Unit. And then secondary dwelling units on rural lands. All lands outside of the Sioux Lookout and Hudson settlement areas are considered rural lands. This includes lands in the Drayton and Alcona areas. Most of the residential lands in these areas are rural residential, and residential shoreline. Secondary dwelling units are permitted in the RU, RR, and RS zones, subject to certain provisions. A maximum of 1 dwelling unit is permitted within the single detached dwelling, semi-detached dwelling, or townhouse. A maximum of 1 secondary dwelling unit within an accessory building is permitted per lot, provided the existing dwelling unit does not contain a secondary dwelling unit. A secondary dwelling unit within a principal dwelling must not exceed 56 square meters unless it occupies the basement. And again, the secondary dwelling unit with the accessory building must not exceed 40% of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling unit, up to a maximum of 56 square meters. Secondary dwelling units within accessory buildings in the RR, RU, and RS zones are only permitted on lands with a minimum lot area of 0.8 of a hectare, so 2 acres. And then accessory dwelling units within a non-residential use. The municipal zoning bylaw permits accessory dwelling units within non-residential buildings, specifically commercial and institutional buildings, in the commercial CL, local commercial downtown, commercial highway, and commercial tourism zones, and the institutional zone, and the airport and industrial ground side zone. Some of the prominent zoning bylaw provisions that apply to developing an accessory dwelling unit within non-residential buildings include: the accessory dwelling unit must have a means of access to the outside that is separate from the access of another accessory dwelling unit and the non-residential use. Within commercial and airport industrial ground side zones, accessory dwelling units are only permitted within the same building as the principal use. Within the institutional zone, an accessory dwelling unit is permitted in an accessory building and the principal institutional use building. An accessory building containing an accessory dwelling unit shall not exceed the size of the principal building on the lot containing an institutional use. And here's just a quick breakdown of some of the available lands, both private and municipal. So we have the Bernier Crescent, or Hudson Heights as it can be called, in Hudson. So this has access to municipal water, but it would need to be privately serviced. There's about 20 acres of developable land there. Then we have the Boat Bay property, I believe. Yeah, so this is about 240 acres. It has frontage on Lost Lake, just to the east of the settlement area of Hudson. This is a private subdivision that's currently underway across from the Blue Heron subdivision. So this will be 15 lots with some lakeshore lots and some rural lots. And this is another subdivision at the end of Sturgeon River Road. It is in essence complete, and lots are available for sale. And then this is the Boreal Trails subdivision, which is a serviced subdivision, which has, as you can see, several lots available. And then we have, this would be to the north of the Boreal Trails subdivision, adjacent to the airport and golf course, the Otto's Farm, if I'm sure a lot of you recognize that name. So this property, 488 acres within town limits, that servicing is kind of extended to just south of the property And then the Hillcrest Hub, which would be primarily commercial, but does allow for accessory dwelling units on the second or in, the back of the property. And this is contact list. If you want to come chat with us, we'll be all back there. If you have any questions, just come have a chat. We can give you our contact info. We can go from there. And that's it. Thank you. Next up is a representative from Canora District Services Board.
Hopefully that helps. Open up, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jose Mantle. I am a Housing Solutions Manager with the Canora District Services Board. I want to thank the municipality of Sioux Lookout for inviting us here today to spend some time with you. And I am here with several of my colleagues to highlight not only some of the builds that we have available and housing that we offer in Sioux Lookout, but to also highlight some of the partnerships that we have in the municipality of Sioux Lookout.
Hello everyone, my name is Amy Obi and I work for Canora District Services Board. I'm very happy to be here today. So we'll just get started with the slideshow. So the Canora District Services Board provides help and support when you need it. KDSB delivers essential social services. These services assist in helping everyone reach their full potential. KDSB's services support individuals, families, and communities in the Canora District. KDSB's mission and values, or vision, our mission, we're dedicated to improving everyday lives through early learning and care, housing, paramedic, and social services. Our vision. In 5 years, KDSB's fully resourced, engaged team and enabling infrastructure will support equitable, responsive services adapted to each community's needs. Recognized as a catalyst for positive change by our communities and partners, KDSB will have contributed to improved community well-being and belonging.
Good day, everyone. I'm Lori Shields, and I am the ISS manager for the district. The district includes 9 communities and 4 incorporated territories consisting of Dryden, Ear Falls, Ignace, Canora, Mayshon, Pickle Lake, Red Lake, Sioux Lookout, Sioux Narrows, Nestor Falls, and the unincorporated areas. The services that the KDSB is responsible for providing include EMS, land ambulance, the integrated social services, financial supports, community housing, and early years services. The Canora District Services Board offers housing programs and services to the residents of the Canora District. KDSB Community Housing Services offers supportive housing, affordable housing units, market unit rents, rent geared to income programs, homelessness prevention programs, to the single, non-elderly residents, families, special placement priorities, and seniors.
So it gives me great pleasure to talk about this project. This was one of my first real huge projects that I was involved in Sioux Lookout, and it was identified through a 2015 service mapping. So we were looking at housing, health, social, and it was identified that supportive housing would be great in Sioux Lookout. So we had a conversation, added it to the report. A few years later, a partnership was formed that included many wonderful partners, including Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services, Mishnabegamic Friendship Center, First Step Women's Shelter, the Nadawi Waywin team, the municipality of Sioux Lookout, of course, and we also have health subsidies in this project. What we thought was going to be 8 units, that was, we thought that would be a great thing to start with, morphed into 20 units. So the build opened in 2018, and we provide supportive housing services to 10 females and 10 males in partnership with Tana Troniak's team at the First Step Women's Shelter. They provide the programming, program management, on-site supports, and the Nishnabigamic Friendship Center provides the overnight support for these individuals. And I'm happy to say that I had the great pleasure of working quite a bit in this program when we first opened, and we've since had great success with supportive housing and have opened a unit in Red Lake and partner on a unit in Canora as well. So here's a video of the original build when it first opened. So we thought we would just play it for everyone because it is a true testament to partnerships and the wonderful work that was spearheaded in Sioux Lookout. And we're grateful to all the partners and of course the municipality, the mayor, who was very supportive of the work through the hard moments. We had a lot of people pulling us through, and it's been a great pleasure.
What is home?
What is home? I think home is where you choose it to be. Home is where you're safe. Home is where you have support.
Home? Where you're safe, you feel loved, you're appreciated.
You can just relax and breathe and just have your own time, your own space.
Knowing that you're going to be okay, being able to reach out to other people.
Home is where you choose that to be, and they've never had that option to call a place a home. Our tenants have never had that opportunity, a lot of them.
What is home to you?
Stability.
Having a home is probably one of the most important things in a person's life.
It's necessities, but some people just think, take it for granted, because it's always been there.
It's something that everybody deserves and not everybody has.
Sioux Lookout's had a negative housing situation since I came to Sioux Lookout in 1975 or 76.
The issue of homelessness, the issues of addictions, and the issues of mental health, that is the largest percentage that we deal with on a daily basis.
All communities have these issues. We continue doing the same thing over and over.
People may not understand, we didn't choose to be homeless.
It's very difficult to get a job when you sleep in a derelict car at night. It's very difficult to get a job when you don't have a watch.
You can't work on anything. The trauma, the addictions.
The housing first model, that's really what needs to be in place first and foremost before we can address any further concerns.
The supportive housing unit here in Sioux Lookout opened on the 15th of August 2018.
There are 20 units, a wing on each side with the kind of hub and the kitchen in the middle. Supportive housing gives that basic need to every individual, any individual that needs that roof over their head.
Safe and affordable housing with supports. Bringing in the supports on site to ensure that people can move forward in whatever that means for them.
At the end of the day, this money is taxpayers' money, and it's much more efficient to provide someone with housing than to leave them on the street and having them dealt with in a reactive manner.
There's safety, there's companionship, there's friendships. It feels like a big family.
It's a relief to have. It's a blessing.
We're providing people with a new start.
Giving them a chance to have a better life is really what it's about.
You're only as strong as most vulnerable in your community.
I don't think I've ever seen the agencies in Sioux Lookout work together as much as they have.
Basically, anything specific to a tenant's need, supports will come in.
We have already seen great successes with people, getting away from addictions and becoming functioning members of society.
Just having the security of knowing I can come to my home.
To see the smiles and the pride, it's an absolute pleasure and an honor to be a part of a project. Sorry, such as this.
So the next building we're going to talk about in Sioux Lookout is Patricia Plaza. It is a senior building with 1- and 2-story multi-residential units. There's 37 units in total. 36 of them are 1-bedroom units, and there is 1 2-bedroom unit. So as you probably are all aware, we had a fire at Pat Plaza. Right now we have 8 units that are currently under construction due to the fire, and we are working together to get those units back in place and hopefully have full vacancy back at this building. As you can see in this photo, this past summer we had the privilege of having a very familiar face visit Pat Plaza, and we had a kind of a meet and greet with our tenants there, and that's Blueberry Bird. The next slide, we have 22 family units located within Sioux Lookout that are rental units. They are located on 2nd Avenue, 3rd Avenue, and 7th Avenue, and they range from 2 to 4 bedrooms.
Next on the screen, you'll see pictures of 7 Miller. So 7 Miller has 10 2-bedroom units, and they are to house those who are associated with the dialysis program. The 2 bedrooms is so that one for the patient or the person who is going through the program, and the other one can be used for either family or for a caregiver. Also at 7 Miller, some of the partners that we have there are, we lease the 10 units, so it's Ontario Aboriginal Housing Support Services, who we are as the leaseholder. Then we also have the partnership with Manoyawan for housing our tenants, and then, and I apologize, Nana Noewin. So, who is our partner in programming, and that's the pictures you can see on the bottom. So their program is there for providing services to all of the residents that are in there, and they range everything from, we have housing, or we have supports for food, there's crisis support, advocacy, referrals if needed, counseling, groups, and holiday celebrations. Okay, and second stage housing, I'm actually going to call up to join me on this, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Ryan Beaumont. I'm a project manager with the Canora District Services Board, and I oversee our new construction projects throughout the district. And I'm the odd man up here today, probably in more ways than one. But this was a great project to be a part of, and this really speaks to the power of partnerships in developments like this. We had a strong partnership with First Up Women's Shelter, and it was it was so critical to have that partnership and able to get the funding available to make this project a reality. So it was a 10-unit building, a mix of unit types. The total project cost was approximately $8 million, and so it was, again, from pulling from different funding sources. Some came from the KDSB side, and then we relied on First Step to access some of that other funding, and it wouldn't have been possible to do this just on our own. So that project began August 2023, and it's wrapping up right now, and we'll hopefully be occupying the building very shortly.
So some of the funding, or some of the partners in that for funding was the Indigenous Supportive Housing Program administered by OHAS, the CMHC, NICHI, which is the National Indigenous Collaborative Housing Incorporated, and also to be noted that the land was donated by the municipality. The program partners on this would be the First Steps Women's Shelter, as well as Natadawewin and the KDSB.
Okay. And then this is another project that we had. This one was over in Boreal Trails, which Jody had mentioned, that subdivision. So we had combined a couple lots there, and so the project consisted of 2 duplexes. So this partnership was with Wendigo First Nations Council, and the purpose of these units was to provide housing for high school students that are coming from remote First Nation communities. And so there's 2 duplexes, so each unit has space for 4 students, and then they have guardians that live there on the main floor that help support the students. The total project cost for that whole project was around $5.5 million, and the construction had started it's a while ago now, September 2021, and that wrapped up about a year later than that. So the program's been running for a few years now, but again, it speaks to the value of these partnerships with Wendigo and KDSB coming together to make that project a reality and create meaningful housing, purpose-built housing in the community.
So as we continue to grow and we look at well-being across our districts, one of the things that we really want to focus on is also supporting effective tenancies and supporting people in their homes. One of the things that we have been successful in allocating is funding for our community paramedicine program, which has brought some unique opportunities for some of our tenants. Right now, we're focusing on our seniors across the district, but hope to, really push this out to all sectors to ensure that individuals are accessing effective health services via the paramedicine program. So our paramedics work in tandem with case management, so we really look at the social determinants of health, not only the health aspect, but the social aspect. So aims of the program are, of course, to reduce the 911 calls, provide education on chronic and other health situations, focus on advanced health outcomes, facilitate health system navigation, and improve overall quality of life for individuals in their homes. Some of the things that can go on and do go on when our paramedics and our our integrated community case managers visit our seniors currently is they do assessments and referrals. Community paramedic-led wellness clinics occur across the district. Home visits, of course. Remote patient monitoring. Palliative care. Some information is shared, and we continue to increase the training that is on all of those areas, not only for our community paramedics, but for our integrated community case managers as well. Mental health and addiction access, referrals, information sharing, and of course, transitional care support services. And this has been a great program to be part of as well. So one of the main portfolios for my work is the portfolio around homelessness across the region. And again, so I feel like Tana should be standing beside me because we partner so much with First Step Women Shelter and Nanadawee Waywin. So our partner in the emergency shelter here at 15 Fair Street, or the old Queen Elizabeth High School. I'm sure a lot of us accessed that through sports programs when we were in high school, is our current, not only the 7 Generations Education Campus, but it's also the site for our emergency shelter. So currently that program has space for 30 individuals, and we are always working on advocating and trying to improve funding. We are in the middle of a major kitchen renovation for this program. When Tana moved into the program, it was in COVID days, and they are, you know, doing an amazing job, but do not actually have a kitchen to work out of right now. They use a classroom, and that's how they make everything happen, and they're doing amazing at it. However, we have taken the library, for those of you who are familiar with the Queen Elizabeth campus, we've taken the old library, and it is now a common space kitchen and dining hall and offices for individuals who will access the emergency shelter program along with the safe sobering beds. So a point in time was completed last October in Sioux Lookout, and during that point in time is an enumeration of homelessness in communities. It actually occurred across Canada in the month of October and April. And during our count, which was held October 7th, I believe, in Sioux Lookout, we had 31 individuals complete a HIFIS survey, and HIFIS is the homelessness database that the federal government work with, and we also work with it as part of their Reaching Home program. We use HIFIS in all of our shelters and in many of our other programs across the district. So 31 individuals completed a HIFIS survey with us. We also had 9 individuals complete a paper survey, and we observed 31 other individuals who were either observed homeless or stated they were in the rough, for a total of 71 individuals. So where did you sleep last night was one of the questions that we are told to ask when we work with individuals in point in time counts. And it went from everywhere to outside, to the shelter, hotels, someone else's place, transitional shelters, unsheltered public spaces, and of course some just didn't want to give us the information, which was perfectly fine. I do want to state that we are doing an enumeration this year again. So the federal government with all of the provinces will be doing just a count this year. There won't be a survey. So it looks like every year now we will be doing an estimated count of homelessness. One of the goals for the Reaching Home program and Canada's strategy for ending homelessness is, of course, to reduce and eventually work towards ending homelessness in all of our communities. So the average age for the individuals who worked with us, the majority of individuals were in their 40s. The most elderly individual who completed a survey during that time and time count was 70 years old, and the youngest on that day was 21. Challenges and problems to finding housing is also something that we really keep a close eye on, because we do want to effectively reduce homelessness as we continue our work. The most common was rent prices. Others were things like poor housing conditions, no income assistance, no housing, mental health issues, low income, disability or health issues, family breakdown or conflict, domestic violence, discrimination, criminal history, children, or addictions. And of course, this year, it changes every year. This was the 3rd enumeration that we completed in our region, and we did find some differences. So the largest number of individuals who completed enumerations with us were 58% were women. It's usually the opposite. 40% were men, and 3% declined to answer. So this work would never get done without our partners. So of course, first and foremost, the municipalities across the region, the municipality of Sioux Lookout included, were very open to working with us for this enumeration. We also had input from our paramedic services, police services, homeless shelters, who did a lot of this work on that 24-hour period in each community. Friendship centers, our Northwest Health Unit, mental health and addictions providers, family health teams, school boards, hospitals, food banks, women's shelters, developmental service and community living organizations, women's programs, corrections and justice services, day programs, and municipalities. So having said that, we've come to the end of our presentation on the types of housing that we have available in Sioux Lookout. I did want to leave you all knowing that not only do we have the great pleasure of doing this work, we're always advocating to increase, with our board of directors, we always want to ensure that we're pushing for improved funding for our region in recognition of the difficulties of being in the area, wonderful area that we live in. So again, a great thank you to our board of directors who helps really advocate for us to have improved funding to improve all of the services we offer across the Canora region, Canora district. Thank you.
Thank you very much, KDSB, for such an impactful presentation. Up next on the agenda, we have the Cooperative Housing Federation of Canada, and we have two speakers from them. The first speaker is Marla Gagnier, who is a program manager, and Marla is a cooperative developer with extensive experience in the cooperative, credit union, and housing sectors. She has held roles in member engagement, including her recent work as member engagement manager at the BC Cooperative Association, where she supported emerging co-ops, managed membership activities, and led community engagement initiatives. Marla is passionate about advancing co-op housing and is committed to using her skills to foster sustainable, inclusive communities in Canada through cooperative housing movement. The second presenter is Piotr Bilowoski, who is also a program manager at Cooperative Housing Development Federation of Canada. Piotr brings a rich background in affordable housing, urban planning, community engagement. He is an affordable housing specialist and community urban planner. He recently co-presented a housing assessment to the Verdun Borough Council, supported by Project Montreal Citizens Grant. Through this experience, he has demonstrated his skills in Project Montreal Citizen Grant. Throughout his experience, Piotr has demonstrated skills in data analysis, policy application, and report preparation. At the TQSY, he coordinated affordable housing projects, securing grants across federal, provincial, and municipal levels. His proven ability to manage and engage community on housing issues through outreach and consultation will be invaluable to groups that the Cooperative Housing Federation supports. And they'll be joining us online, so if you can direct our attention to their presentation up there. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. We're just having a little bit of connection issues, but can everybody hear me? I can't see you folks either, but can people hear me? Maybe whoever is at the computer can just write in the chat to let me know. Is that possible? Okay, you can hear. Okay, great. Sorry for the pause there. Okay, great. I'm glad that you can hear me. And just to know, I've been online here for a little while, and it seems like the connection may go a little bit in and out, but if there's anything that you folks miss, we can always record this and maybe send it to you after in a different format where it's not kind of cut up in case the connection goes off. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to record this for everyone, and then I'm also just going to share my screen. So sorry about that.
Recording in progress.
Sorry, folks. Just give me 1 second here and I'll fix this screen so that everybody sees much. Okay. Hopefully that's okay for now. Okay. Okay, so I guess I'll just get going. And again, hopefully everybody can hear me. But yeah, well, welcome everyone. I'm really excited today to talk to you folks about cooperative housing and also the Cooperative Housing Development Program. I'm hoping you already had a great beginning of the day. And thanks for having us. So my name is Marlon. I'm from, again, the Cooperative Housing Federation of Canada. And I'm also here with my colleague, Piot, and we'll introduce ourselves a little bit more in a second. But again, we're here today to provide a little bit of an introduction to co-op housing, and we're also going to provide info on the $1.5 billion of funding for the Cooperative Housing Development Program, which will aim to expand co-op housing across the country. So this is actually the largest investment in co-op housing that we've seen in the last 30 years. And the program is estimated to support the development of thousands of affordable cooperative housing units across the country by 2028. So it also represents a really unique opportunity for rural communities. So we're excited to talk to you folks today about co-op housing as an opportunity for Sioux Lookout. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the next slide here. So before we get going, I'm sure that there's already been a territorial acknowledgement done, but I just wanted to acknowledge that Sioux Lookout is situated on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe and Cree people. This region has been home to Indigenous communities since time immemorial and remains a place of deep cultural, spiritual, and historical significance. We recognize and honor the ongoing presence and contributions of Indigenous people in this region and affirm our commitment to building respectful and reciprocal relationships rooted in truth and reconciliation. Okay, so today my colleague and I are going to be talking about co-op housing, as mentioned. So my name is Marla. I'm the program manager, Cooperative Housing Development Program. And specifically, I provide governance support and growth support services for co-ops. My colleague Piot is also going to be presenting. And if you want, Piot, you can unmute and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Piotr Borslawski. Yes, I am program manager at CHF Canada. Thank you again for letting us talk at your housing forum.
Okay, great. So before I get into the presentation, which I think we're hoping that it will last about 50 minutes, and then we'll have time at the end for questions. So before I get going, I just wanted to provide a brief overview. So again, I'm going to first just talk to you a little bit about CHF Canada, which is the organization that Piot and I are with. And then we'll do a little bit of an introduction about what co-op housing is. And then I'm going to provide some fun examples of some innovative cooperative models that we're seeing right now in the co-op sector. And then I'm going to pass it off to Piot, and he's going to provide the information about the Cooperative Housing Development Program. So again, hoping that it will be about 50 minutes with time for questions. So yeah, I'll just get going then. Hold on a sec, I'll just go to the next slide. Okay, so CHF Canada, or the Cooperative Housing Federation of Canada, is the National Association for Cooperative Housing. We support co-ops across the country through advice, education, and advocacy, helping to strengthen and sustain the co-op housing movement. Our network includes over 1,090 members and associates, with 895 of those being nonprofit housing co-ops. So we represent a very diverse and strong community across the country. CHF Canada is governed by and elected by a board of directors, which ensures that our work is led by and accountable to the co-ops we serve, who are our members. So I'll go a little bit into the co-op model in a second, but all to say CHF Canada itself is a co-op, and we exist to serve our members, and it's a democratic organization, and our members are also able to be on the board and have a say in what happens at CHF Canada. So our mission is really to inspire, represent, and serve our members in a united co-op housing movement. Okay. So a little bit about the housing co-op sector. So for over 50 years, housing co-ops have played a vital role in Canada's housing landscape. They offer more than just a place to live. Co-ops provide inclusive, affordable, and secure housing with a strong focus on community. Today, just over 250,000 Canadians live in nonprofit housing co-ops across the country, and there are more than 2,200 housing co-ops in Canada, representing a total of 92,000 homes. So these numbers really speak to the strength and resilience of the co-op housing sector and its ongoing importance in addressing Canada's housing challenges. Okay, so what is a housing co-op? I'm just going to dive into it. So in Canada, just to preface this, we're going to mostly focus on, of course, not-for-profit housing co-ops, but actually in Canada, there are two main types of housing cooperatives. So non-profit housing co-ops, which will be the focus today, but there are also equity co-ops. So in a nonprofit housing co-op, like most of the ones we're going to talk about today, the co-ops provide affordable housing as a service to its members. And it's not about making a profit or landlords making money, right? It's definitely different than some of the other housing models that we see out there. And then in contrast, there's also equity co-ops, which operate more like shared ownership models. So members buy a share that can build equity, and when they leave, they may sell that share at market or appraised value. So these are less common and they tend to operate more like private ownership models, but I just wanted to mention them because it is part of the co-op model. Although CHF Canada does really focus on providing support to nonprofit housing co-ops, and also the CHDP program only supports not-for-profit housing cooperatives as well. But they fit right into their neighborhoods, and what makes them unique is how they're member-owned and democratically run. So all co-ops, including housing co-ops, are guided by a shared set of cooperative values and the 7 co-op principles. Some of them include democratic member control and concern for community, and these values really shape how co-ops operate day to day. So just to go through really briefly the 7 co-op principles, which by the way are also agreed upon by the International Alliance for Cooperatives, the ICA. So all co-ops across the world should have these values. They are voluntary and open membership, so co-ops are open to anyone who can use their services and take on the responsibilities of membership. They're democratic and member controlled, so co-ops are run by their members who actively participate in decision making, and member economic participation, so members contribute financially and benefit the co-op success, autonomy and independence, so co-ops are independent and controlled by their members, education, training, and information, co-ops invest in learning for members, staff, and the wider community, cooperation among cooperative, so co-ops support each other and work together to strengthen the movement. And again, concern for community, so co-ops work to build stronger and more sustainable communities. So I always like to go over the 7 co-op principles because these are really what ground the cooperative housing movement and cooperatives in general, and they're what set them apart. And a little bit more on what sets them apart. Let's go to the next slide. I think what really sets housing co-ops apart is how they're owned and controlled by the people who use their service. And in the case of housing co-ops, that's usually the people that live there, right? They're again not for profit, so the goal isn't to generate income, it's to provide secure, affordable homes. And co-ops are inclusive communities, so welcoming people from different backgrounds and income levels. For many, it's not just a place to live, it's a place to put down roots and build community. When you live in a co-op, you have security of tenure. That's one of the big benefits of co-ops. It's not like a regular rental where you could be rent evicted, which is, of course, is happening very, very frequently these days. When you do have a membership to a co-op, you have security of tenure. And you can't be evicted unless something very, very drastic happens. But for the most part, you do have that security that allows you to put down roots and say, this is my home for the long term. This is where I'm going to live and form community as well. And because members have a stake in the co-op, they often share their time, skills, and talents to improve life for everyone in the co-op, whether that's through events, maintenance, or governance. It's really great when you visit housing co-ops and you see members sharing their skills with each other, whether it's, somebody who really loves gardening or a crafts night for the housing co-op, stuff like that. Community is a really key part of housing co-ops as well. So there really is a strong sense of belonging and shared responsibility that defines the co-op difference. A little bit more on the differences of co-ops and also the advantages of living in a co-op is that, if we look at this, it just contrasts a private rental versus a co-op. So in a private rental, the landlord controls, just about everything, right? They set the rent based on their profit goals and decide how to spend the income, including what goes towards repairs and maintenance. And the landlord also decides the priorities for the property. If the property is sold, a new owner with different priorities could take over at any time. And by contrast, in a housing co-op, members themselves set the housing charges based on a break-even budget, not profit. So members come together and decide on the housing charges. There is a vote at an annual general meeting, et cetera. And members decide on what the housing charges are, versus rents that are, of course, often hiked up so landlords can make more profit, et cetera. Members review and approve the annual budget, the audited financial statements, and the choice of an auditor. So they have a say over financial decisions, and co-ops are democratically run. So each member has a vote, elects the board of directors, and can run for the board. This board sets the co-op's priorities. So again, you really do have a say in how the co-op is run or governed. Any sale or purchase of the properties must be approved by a special resolution of the members as well, giving them control over ownership decisions too. So plus co-op members have access to education and training, helping them actively to participate and strengthen their community. So when you do contrast the two, you can really see that cooperative housing has a lot of benefits to it. And we know that housing co-ops do provide safe, secure, affordable places for people to live. And in today's housing crisis, it's clear we need more co-op housing, or at least, I definitely think we need more affordable housing, and co-ops fall into that bucket, right? So if we take a look at this slide, our co-op difference research shows co-op rents are consistently lower than similar private rentals because co-ops operate on a not-for-profit basis. So in 2008, co-op rents were about $150 to $200 less per month. And by 2019, that gap grew to $400 or $500. So, apologies that this is out of date, but I'm sure you can imagine that the gap after 2020 and, now we're in 2025 is even larger than $400 or $500. It's probably pretty significant by now. I also recognize that this slide is for Victoria, Vancouver, Toronto, and Ottawa. But I think, housing prices in rural communities have also gone up just the same as cost of living, et cetera. So all to say, we know that co-ops can provide affordable, secure, safe homes and help solve the housing crisis. So really the question is, why aren't there more co-op homes? Well, since the mid-1990s, public funding for new co-op housing has declined, which has really limited new development. Still, some co-ops have been built through partnerships and innovation, though not at the scale of past decades. So a lot of the housing co-ops that exist in Canada are mostly from the 70s and 80s. There was like a really big boom and a lot of support for co-op housing, and that's since, gone down. Is new funding from the Cooperative Housing Development Fund. And we're really looking at building the next generation of co-op housing to meet our community's growing housing needs. So it is a really exciting time for the co-op sector and the co-op housing movement. Okay. So really, in short, with this funding, we're ready to build the next generation of co-op housing. It's really exciting. It's a really exciting time with this funding, and it's really important for us to look ahead to the next generation of co-op housing. So CHF Canada is proud to be part of a sector-led vision called Co-op Housing for All, which supports the entire housing co-op sector in exploring opportunities for growth and innovation. Our goal is to ensure that co-op housing is accessible to the many Canadians who want it, or who may need it as well. It means that we're envisioning co-op housing playing a lead role in addressing the housing crisis. More co-op homes are developed and acquired, all of which are permanently affordable, and seniors can age in place, and vulnerable communities may also be able to find more housing through the co-op model too. So achieving this means that co-ops will need to consider new governance model and explore opportunities to collaborate, partnerships. And as we look to the next generation of co-op housing, it's clear that meeting the growing demand requires fresh thinking and some new approaches. So before I go to the next slide, I just kind of want to preface this next session, which is going to be about the kind of innovative growth models that we're seeing in the co-op sector, with a little bit of preface. I know I just kind of introduced what's a housing co-op, and that presentation itself could probably be, a whole hour long. And now we're jumping to some, exciting new growth models. So it might be a little bit confusing, but I'll give a couple examples as well. And really, the point of these next few slides is just to show that the co-op model is flexible and can be used in a lot of different ways. And we are innovating and, working with partners, et cetera, to get these developments done and to get new co-ops built. So to support sustainable growth, co-ops, again, are exploring innovative governance models that enable expansion and stronger collaboration and partnerships. So this includes alternative co-op structures such as multi-stakeholder co-ops, so that a multi-stakeholder co-op is really when the members are not just the residents. They can also include partnering organizations or non-resident members that maybe have expertise. We're also seeing some alternative co-op structures like land co-ops or unified or amalgamated co-ops, multi-site co-ops, scattered co-ops, and partnerships with community land trusts, nonprofit housing providers, municipalities, federal lands initiatives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And really, these partnerships are key to the growth aspect, right? Through these partnerships, this is really how we're going to continue, use the funding and partnerships to build more co-op homes. So we're also seeing strategies like mergers and acquisitions, infill development, and co-op conversions as ways to increase co-op units. And these innovative growth models provide co-ops with the flexibility and tools they need to adapt and thrive in today's housing landscape. So I know some of these, again, models might be new to folks, but I'll provide a couple of examples in the next few slides that will hopefully clarify a little bit, and I'll just go over them briefly. And again, if there's any questions, we can always try to answer them at the end. So the first example that I have here, let me just change my slide, is Compass Nova Scotia. And I thought this would be a really great example because it does include some rural co-ops as well. So Compass Nova Scotia is an example of what we would call a unified or amalgamated cooperative. It formed in 2016 to sustain, build, and grow inclusive housing co-ops across Nova Scotia. So Compass combines 8 former co-ops into one organization, so one large co-op, now managing 111 homes. So what's interesting that happened with Compass Nova Scotia is that a lot of these co-ops that were already existing that you can see here, Capeland, Central Dartmouth, Lake City, etc. They were smaller co-ops that were kind of struggling with capacity and financially as well. So these co-ops all came together to pool their resources, pool their capital, pool their expertise. And they were able to form Compass Nova Scotia, which now is able to continue to grow. So not only were, by creating this amalgamated co-op, not only were they able to, sustain existing co-ops, but they're also able to build more co-ops. And it's also an example of a kind of multi-site or scattered co-op as well. So there's different, sites of this one cooperative. And the governance of this includes residents and non-resident members and are also organizational partners. So instead of the members just being the folks that live there, they were able to create a governance structure for Compass Nova Scotia that included non-resident members that can help provide expertise and guidance to the co-op, for example, with some of their ongoing development and projects, right? So they are building Heritage Hall, which is 5 units, Barton School, which is 5 units, and then also Maitland Street in Halifax, which is 57 units. So, 57 units is definitely a significant amount. So by having this kind of alternative governance model, they were able to get the expertise that they need on the board to, get these new development done as well. Okay, so I'll just move on to the next slide, and I'll give another example of kind of an innovative use of the co-op model. So we're also seeing land co-ops and community land trusts as well. So I'm not going to speak too much about community land trusts because really, CHF Canada deals with co-ops, but what we're also seeing is that, land co-ops and community land trusts really exist to acquire land and keep it in perpetuity for sustainable community use. So we've seen this happen a lot in the housing sector lately, where community land trusts are acquiring land and keeping it in perpetuity so that they can then partner with a housing provider, and then the housing provider is able to have access to the land, to build their development and then provide the affordable housing. And the land is usually, affordable in perpetuity. And land co-ops are doing a similar thing. So they're built on cooperative principles, which is a little bit different, right? There's the land co-ops that are popping up are democratically governed by members and grounded in shared values. And they acquire and hold land in perpetuity so that housing co-ops themselves can build on this land. So this is just an example of some of the different types of co-ops that are coming up. And then I only have one more slide here. Let me just change my slide in a second. And this last slide is some of the services that CHF Canada are providing to new housing co-ops. So, with this overall vision for the next generation of co-op housing in mind, I just thought it would be great to highlight some of the key ways CHF Canada is supporting co-ops to build strong, resilient communities and new co-ops. So Piot's going to talk a little bit more about the CHDP program and some of the services that we can provide. But what we can also provide through the CHDP program is that we have these growth support services for new co-ops looking to get started. So if, for example, somebody in the room is like, oh, co-ops sound great, I'd love to start one and maybe apply for funding with CHDP. Our growth support services could help you in terms of starting this co-op. So we help with incorporation and providing preliminary resources. If you need a business plan, we can help with that, etc. So we can really help you get going with your cooperative idea through these free growth support services. We also have meeting support, so assistance with board meeting preparation, documentation, and chair support, strategic and annual planning, so facilitation and support for planning sessions and implementation, policies and procedures, so we can help develop any key governance documents, marketing and communications. We can help with that as well, coordinating materials and strategies, and same thing for community and member engagement, so supporting the education, training, and member involvement of the new cooperative as well. So the services really provide co-ops with practical tools and guidance to lead, confidently and achieve their goals in the future. So this is just one of the service offerings under the CHDP program, which is again free through if you are a co-op wanting to apply for funding. Also, I always say CHDP program, even though the P stands for program. So apologies, the Cooperative Housing Development Program. But that's all I had prepared today, and I was just going to pass it off to Piotr so he could go into a little bit more details about the Cooperative Housing Development Program. Thanks, everyone.
Perfect. Thanks, Marla. Now I'm just going to send a request to share my screen. See if this works. All right. Permission. Let's do it. There we go. There we go. We're good? Yeah? Okay, perfect. All right. Again, thank you again for letting us speak to you about cooperative housing. I'm here to talk to you about the Cooperative Housing Development Program, or CHDP. So sorry for all the acronyms. We live in acronyms. So at the end of the day, how are we going to pay for all of this? So launched in 2024, this program was part of a broader national effort to increase community-owned housing. And it's one of the few programs right now that puts member-driven governance at the center of development. It offers $500 million in contributions and also $1 billion in loans to any new co-op units that are being built. We here at CHF Canada have partnered with the CMHC to support these groups in applying for the CHDP program. So I'm just going to go over right now what are their eligibility requirements and what kind of documentation you might need. The program is split into two different streams, repayable and forgivable loans. The program will fund 100% of all eligible project costs on a residential space, which includes pre-development funding as well. 25% of the loan can cover eligible community space as well. So if you're thinking to add spaces for nearby community as well as for the co-op members themselves. And this funding is available for the next 4 to 7 years, and loans can have up to 10, 20, up to 50-year amortization periods. However, it's competitive and it has to have clear eligibility requirements, which I'll go over now. To be eligible, your group must be a cooperative, like Marla said, or planning to be cooperative, or wants to be a cooperative. The most important part is net new. So you need to have new construction, conversion of non-residential buildings into residential are eligible. So if you see a fancy office that looks empty, that's perfect. And for the Sioux, for example, groups can plan to develop products under 30 units because CMHC would consider that a case-by-case basis for rural projects. Co-op groups can also partner with land trusts to access relatively inexpensive land to build upon. So there's obviously available partnerships to develop for this program. But groups must have a rental tenure. Like Marla said, no ownership, no rent to own, and the housing charges have to be below 110% median market rent post 2000. Of course, the Sioux Lookout doesn't have a survey zone, so CHF Canada would make a special request to the CMHC to find those numbers for you to use. CMHC requires and highlights the importance of energy efficiency. So there are building codes that are required. For example, for high efficiency, they look at a minimum at a tier 3 building code, and as well as making the project universally accessible for everyone to have access to these units. Little things like 4% funding reserves are required and asset security. So usually they need to build on a land to secure these loans. That's one of the primary reasons for the loan program. This ensures that all of this ensures that the project is financially solid and mission aligned with the CMHC. So I'd like to share some lessons that we've learned supporting groups through the phase round of the CHDP program, and some of the pitfalls, some of what makes a strong application. So one of the first things we need or will want to see is proof of land control or a clear path to acquisition to land. I think land is crucial in all applications to the CMHC, but for the CHDP program, it's just as crucial. You also need to find out your correct MMRs. We've seen a lot of cooperative groups use incorrect ones or done their own studies. Here we would actually request from the CMHC what we call a small pools data requests for the Sioux Lookout, so that we would have the correct information, and we'd also have receipts to that correct information once the application is in, to make sure that everything is correct. We've also seen a lot of incomplete applications for the program, because at the minimum, you need to have a Class B cost consultation report. So that's a construction report that would require geotechnical, environmental assessments, as well as energy efficiency reports and zoning. Zoning is also a key part of the program. The CMHC uses points to assess each project. So good applications tend to go for, we consider a good application at least 80 points on their viability sheet or spreadsheet that you can find on the website. The lower the forgivable loan portion, of course, the better the scoring. Closer to 110% median market rent, the better. Land prices are crucial. That make or break a viability assessment. So ideally, you'd want that land for free or for $1, or a purchase agreement with your partner. You can also stack. This is something very unique to this program. You can stack provincial programs, municipal programs together to lower the costs and lower the forgivable loan portions. And of course, going beyond the unit counts. I see a lot of the times, obviously, CMHC would like to see their money going to bigger projects, but in a lot of the cases, just a smaller unit count increase will do dividends in assessments. There are different instances where funding sources can be contradictory to a lot of the requirements, and we would help you with that, because we would see that a lot of other funding programs would have lower MMR requirements, but we're here to communicate that with the CMHC and make sure there are clarifications above all the applications, so that you can, when you're ready to apply, we can refine and complete all the pieces to the application. And this is where we can help you a lot. We've been chosen by the CMHC to support co-op groups, like any group that is in Canada, to access this process. We can help assess your project's readiness. We can support completing your application, guide you through partnership, governance, like Marla was saying, and funding strategies. We also offer technical support and to help with development and member engagement. We're essentially a coach, a connector, and even an advocate throughout this whole process, because we offer feedback loops to the CMHC to discuss what are key concerns for groups that are applying. But the way we offer these services is through two main tiers of products. We call it a development essential. It's pretty much a streamlined package that includes guidance, document templates, checklists, and our knowledge hub to CHDP to support groups in submitting applications to loan agreement. And then we have a development enhanced, a deeper level of engagement and collaboration after you get to loan agreement. So once the money starts rolling, we can help you with more hands-on engagement with project management, partner selection, budget reviews, and even procurement when it comes to those cases. We offer the development essential at no cost to any applicant looking to apply for CHDP. To go into more detail about development essential, it's very important to know that this is for early stages, like Marla was saying, with governance services. We do a preliminary review of your project. We tell you what you're missing, what needs to be done. We offer you these tools to do the things that you need that are missing, and also templates to make sure that you have exactly what you need when you form this application. We also support board development and membership development, so that makes sure that everyone knows and understands what's going on. And also we include high levels of feedback on viability and funding fits with the CMHC itself to clarify and make sure that everything is kosher. This is a great option for new groups, emerging co-ops that have an idea but need to get help organizing. Develop and enhance is for those groups who already received funding. So you've got an agreement, yay. We're here at CH Canada to make sure that you can help with your steering committee, your reporting. There's a lot of reporting for this program, communication with your members, and then obviously planning for occupancy, and obviously a great celebration at the end of when the cooperative is built. With this service, we can almost look like a co-op consultant to ensure your project doesn't lose any members' focus while staying on track financially and technically. I would like to give a great example that we've been working with. This is the Linden Housing Development Cooperative in Ontario. So what we've done is we've been here right from the beginning. This project had a dedicated membership wanting to build, and they partnered with a great consultant that would help them find. They purchased the land from a private developer based off securing their funding. The group also, with our help, got $80,000 in seed grant funding. So that's pre-development funding to do the reports, the architecture, the designs, the cost benefits, the environmental assessments. They also got $40,000 from the Center of Housing Transformation to continue the procurement process and so forth. Obviously, the CMHC required a fixed price contract to mitigate all this risk so that they weren't sure if they could get the land until they got the funding, but we made sure that we had an ironclad contract to make sure that was was kosher, was supported by the CMHC. We supported them highly through difficult times such as zoning. Zoning was a difficult thing. As you can see, we had to squeeze 36 units in what looks like single family development, but we kept some of the architecture and added more units to the back. And so there was a lot of back and forth approval process with the municipality, as well as building permits. There was a big backlog with the municipality when it comes to building permits, so we ensured that they expedited things and to make sure that we can make the application deadline. So this is a great example. As you can see, that it's not intrusive, it's not gigantic, and it's got 36 new affordable units for a very long time. CHF Canada also offers a full set of tools on our website. Here you can find small samples of budgets, pro formas, governance templates, learning modules on development and cooperative operations, as well as application guidelines and updates to the CHDB program. It's essentially a one-stop shop for the co-housing resource center, and it's open to all groups to engage with us. Of course, if you're interested in the CHDB program, the first step is very simple. Fill out our intake form. It's here, it's a QR code. You can take a photo of it. We also have it on our website. This lets us assess your readiness to match you with the right level of support that you would need. And if you're not sure you're eligible, we can encourage you just to start the conversation with us, and we'll follow up with you with next steps, including one-on-one consultations. So to wrap up, the CHB program is a unique opportunity to bring community-led, permanent, affordable housing to places like the Sioux Lookout. Co-ops bring lasting value, and this funding is here to help them get off the ground. And we know that development is extremely overwhelming, and that's why we've developed these programs and these packages to help you get to where you need to go. And that's it. We're happy to take any questions, and thanks again for inviting us to your housing forum.
All right, we're just going to check and see if we have some questions around the room.
Thank you so much to CHF Canada. I think that was a great presentation. If anyone has any questions, I can bring around the mic if you want to just raise your hand so they can hear your question. No questions at all? No? Okay, we don't have any materials from the team at a table here at the event, but if you've registered, you are going to receive contact information in case you want to follow up with the team. And if you didn't register for the event, so we don't have your contact information and you want to get in touch, just reach out with one of us and we can connect you after the event. So thank you so much to Marla and Pia.
Thank you again.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Have a great housing forum.
Thank you so much. Thanks again for joining us. I see lots of people fanning themselves. We do apologize about the heat in here. The Legion didn't realize that they were having an issue with the air conditioning, but it certainly seems like there is an issue today. So they've been looking into it, but so sorry about that. Thanks for your patience with it. I'm very excited to announce our next group, our visitors from HT Bigwood LPs. So their group recently purchased a 26-acre parcel of land from the municipality that we had prepared across from the airport. So I think a few people were familiar with that property and they knew that it had changed hands. So their whole team has come down to join us today. It is an Indigenous-owned group that includes the 10 First Nations, as well as the Landmark Group, which is a key First Nation organization. And they are here to share with us their mixed-use development plans for that property and share their drawings and designs, but I'm not going to steal their thunder. I'll let them tell you all about it. So come on up. Thank you.
You have our video?
Yep,
We're
we're just gonna try and get it queued up here.
Yeah, no worries. We're gonna let him talk, and then after the presentation, we'll just run it as a slideshow. Okay, thanks so much.
Okay, bonjour. My name is Luke Reynolds. I'm a proud member of Kingfisher Lake First Nation. I'd also like to give thanks for the acknowledgement of the traditional lands here. I'd also like to thank Mayor Lawrence, Jody, Jennifer for the invite and us pursuing in this partnership. It's good to see some familiar faces. I don't know many people from Sioux Lookout, but I used to travel through here quite a bit when I lived in Kingfisher Lake and served 3 terms on council. So I'm excited to say about HT Bigwood LP. I'm glad that you kind of gave, I don't need to give much information, you just gave it. So this partnership was put together with 10 First Nations, 1 First Nation organization out of Thunder Bay. We also have an invite out to, I believe, it's an additional 4 First Nations and another First Nation organization, KO. Perhaps I'll just give you the names of who our ownership group is. So we're involved in our ownership group is Kingfisher Lake First Nation, Wunnaman Lake First Nation, Deer Lake, Lac Seul. I can't say this name, so I'll say it. It's my little joke. I can't say KI, but if you say it fast enough, in the kitchen making soup, you get close enough. Bearskin Lake, Niskandaga, Wapakika, Nibinamik, Casablanca, and the Landmark Group. We also sent an invite out to Muskrat Dam. I have little shareholders from Muskrat Dam. I have a blended family of 9 kids. I have twins and I have triplets. So of that, how many? I have 5 in Muskrat and 3 in Kingfisher Lake. So Muskrat Dam's been invited to join our group. North Caribou, KO Tribal Council, McDowell Lake, and I'm missing one more. So I believe in, here we are today, we talk about partnerships. And to me, what partnerships means is relationships. And if we can, in my old office, I used to have this map of all the First Nation airports. And I remember our MPP, Saul Lama came in before he was MPP. And he said, Luke, can you imagine if these communities stopped doing this and started doing this? What we could create, what we could do. So I'm in my 50th year in life, and there's the Mark Twain saying, The two most important days, the day you were born, the day you find out why. I was 46 years old when I found out my why. And my why is to bring nations together. And to give that legacy and people we surround ourselves with, I want to be known that I've given more than I've taken. And I give gratitude every day for waking up. I give gratitude for opportunity. And when I see opportunity, we have to grasp it. So I saw this opportunity back in 2015. I remember reaching out to Mayor Lawrence. And my background's hockey, and I wanted to build a hockey academy there. And I remember that piece of land was for sale. And I said, I'm going to get that one day. And always believe in your words. And here we are. It was December 20th. We closed the deal. Now HT Bigwood was created. We own that land now. And I'm here to give you my word that we're here to make a difference in Sioux Lookout, because that's why we're here on earth. That's why we wake up every day. We're here to make a difference. And I truly believe in that. And then talking of partnerships, so I was going to write a speech. I was talking to Mayor Lawrence before. I'm like, I don't normally do notes. So I did a couple notes. And I just love to share it with you. And I think it exemplifies of what I'm trying to do and with our team. And I titled it Relationship Salesman. Good salespeople sell features. Great salespeople sell outcomes. Really great salespeople sell feelings. If the only thing you get out of the sales call is that the customer feels better, we've achieved something, because that gives you the opportunity for another call. And people never remember what you say, they remember how they make you feel. So I'm here to tell you that we're here to do our part for Sioux Lookout, the surrounding communities, and First Nation communities, as well as the team that I brought here with me today. I say that, and I'm going through this right now. I just had my oldest daughter graduate university, and I said, don't settle. Be happy in what you want to do. And it's okay to dream. Let people dream if they want to dream big. I'm proven, where my journey has got me to today. From 2008, I didn't want to live, and I had to move to Kingfish Lake to find out my why. And the rest goes on. And everything that I've said, that I believed in and that I dreamed, I'm making it come true. So I'm here to tell you about this 26-acre development. We are here to build a 200-room hotel with conference center, with a rooftop restaurant. I don't know the exact number of apartments and townhouses, residential housing, office space, and retail space. And we're here to work together, and collaboration is so key, collaboration from everybody. And also, I'm a student of leadership. I don't have all the answers, and I'm just here just driving the ship, but there's a lot of key people that are going to be helping me along the way, and I just like to recognize some. So yesterday, the day before actually, I flew people in from British Columbia, Toronto, people that were in Thunder Bay to help with this project. And if you wanted to stand up and give a wave, Brian from GeoFocus, came from Toronto. Adam from GeoFocus, Toronto. Rachel and Rod from One Space Architectural, Toronto. We have Jesse, British Columbia. Anna, British Columbia. We have Brent from Ericsson's. Oh, sorry, so that was Jesse and Anna from MLP. Brent from Ericsson's legal counsel. Natalia, Toronto MNP. Ton, MNP, Jason Williams, and MNP, Sunny Mamakwa, TKG, Regrets, Jonathan Mamakwa, Tom Morris, TKG, Edwin Martinez, he's our general manager at Best Western Norwester, of which we own, and Aaron Moore, my sidekick, Happy Time Tourist Group. So we work well as a team. It's good to see that we care for the communities, we care for Sioux Lookout, we're here to put our footprint and make a difference. So That being said, excited for the opportunity. I appreciate everybody here. I appreciate your time. And I'm very sorry that it's so hot in here. I walked in and saw Joey. I'm like, okay, they gotta get the air conditioning on. Anyhow, I tried. So that being said, we're gonna play just a quick video of what we have together. There's still some moving parts. There's still some pieces to put together. And more importantly, some consultation. What is it that could be a variance of things? What is it we're good at? What is it we need? And let's make it happen. So I guess we can play the video. And I just want to say thank you everybody for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
so much to Luke and the HT Bigwood group. Okay. So if anyone has any questions for the group, I know that those drawings kind of went by pretty fast, but they're also displaying them on their TV there at their table. So feel free to go back and visit their table after the next presentation and ask any questions that you might have. And we're just going to be 1 minute here for our last presenter. So we'll be hearing from Rideout Bay Developments, and Ben Cohen is here with us to share with us the projects that he has on the go, and it looks like he's just downloaded his presentation, so I'm just going to transfer that, and then we'll let him take the floor.
Thank you so very much, and thank you for inviting me to the Sioux Lookout Housing Conference. It's great to be here. I love Sioux Lookout. We have a number of projects current and ongoing. And so I thought I would do kind of a economics 101 lesson and do a little bit of macro, do a little bit of micro, and then do economics of the firm. So this will take some of you back quite a way, but I thought I'd talk about a few perspectives about what are the challenges in housing, what are the opportunities in housing, and how do we connect the dots, and how do we turn this to reality. So when we talk about the housing shortage, there's always a lot of they don't build any housing. There is this housing shortage. There is this externality. And so what and why? Why is this situation? So if there was an opportunity in housing, why don't people do it? And so it kind of begs the question, if no housing is being built, and most housing in Canada, probably the majority, is privately owned, and no one is building it, so what's the story? Why is that? Does anyone have any notion? Please.
NIMBY.
Pardon?
NIMBY.
Okay, so NIMBY is short for not in my backyard. So the NIMBYs come and not in my backyard. People complain, oh, you could build this, but just don't build it here. Is that correct? Okay, so NIMBY. Any other suggestions from the audience? Yes, sir.
There's not enough service lots.
Okay.
People want to purchase service lots. They don't want to put in all the infrastructure.
Okay, great. So there's an obstacle to overcome to get the lots serviced. They're not readily available, so then nobody builds anything. Anybody else?
Cost to build.
Sorry?
Cost to build.
Very good point. A very good point. The cost to build. Okay, so what's happened to the cost to build since COVID? It's gone up. Anybody have any idea what the cost to build is gone up since COVID? Anybody? Okay, so if I told you that it went up by faster than the rate of inflation, would that make sense? Would that be reasonable, sensible, that the cost of building materials went up faster than the consumer price index? Who has absolute confidence in the consumer price index as a measure for inflation? Thinks that the cost, the CPI, is exactly what inflation is. Anybody have total confidence that that's the rate of inflation? So if I said that the actual inflation was probably more than the reported CPI, and that the cost of building materials was even faster than the rate of inflation, that would kind of give you a sense to our to the suggestion from the floor that it's the cost to build. Any other last point? Any other last? Yes.
Lack of engagement by the governments. Like
Okay.
the federal government getting out in the 90s of their housing supports for
Okay.
nonprofit housing and stuff like that.
Okay. We're getting a pretty good analysis of the problem, and maybe we're going to get to some solutions. So that's a very good point. Engagement with the government, a housing strategy is maybe what you're looking to say?
And money.
Money, okay. Any last points? Yes?
Lack of knowledge of how to go through that process.
Okay. Okay, good, good. Lack of knowledge, how do you get this thing solved? How about supply and demand? What's happened to the demand for housing in the last number of years? It's gone up because of the, rightly or wrongly, the no comment, but the government had a very pro-immigration policy, so we had a lot of new people coming, right? 500,000 to 700,000 new Canadians coming every year, so there's also a supply and demand thing happening all the way through post-COVID, maybe now a little bit of a change. Any last points before we move on? The cost of housing, yes?
Regulation.
Okay, so can you elaborate just a little bit?
Well, you said why are people not building houses?
Okay.
Just the cumbersomeness of getting through the process.
Well, not in Sioux Lookout because you have a wonderful town administration, but in every other community, I would agree with you. Anything else? Yes. Lack of trades, another super important point, and that kind of plays into the whole cost of housing. So we've got all these problems. We've got a lot of demand. We've got regulation. We have a lack of service lots. We have the NIMBYs. So all these things are conspiring against us, right? You know, there's a lack of trade. So what does that do to the cost? It drives the cost of building anything way up, and we're in the business of building things, and over the last number of years, it's been very difficult to build housing for all of these reasons. We have 6 active construction sites right now in Northern Ontario, and you may have seen our new build, the hotel in Dryden, the Studio 6 that we're building there, and the next to it, the Boston Pizza. So we're gonna move on from that, and I'll give you my 2 cents worth. We've had a lot of constructive comments. I'll give you one other important aspect of one other reason why housing isn't being built, and that's the tax regime here. Is that as a there isn't a small landlord community. There aren't people going out and entrepreneuring and building duplexes and fourplexes and sixplexes and adding additional housing. So when I say tax, anybody know what I'm talking about? Does this resonate with anybody? So there's a rule that when you finish a project, so you build a duplex next to your house and you have an empty lot, then you have to self-assess for the CRA. So of course, then you've gone and you've spent $1 million on a building. You're obligated to self-assess that at fair market value and write the government a check for $130,000. And then you can apply for some rebates that are so complicated, even our CPA doesn't know how to fill out those forms. So you're in the small land, you want to be a small landlord, and if you look in, for example, I live in Winnipeg. If you look at Winnipeg, there was a whole small landlord community in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and GST comes. And that business kind of goes away because we're finishing right now 5 beautiful apartments in Dryden at the Mission Building, which is 65 Van Horn. And when the building is done, we have to have an arm's length self-assessment and write the government a check for 13% of what that building is worth. So, how much fun is that? Not too much. In addition, you can't claim any of your inputs on an ongoing basis. So we have this crazy situation. We have these tax issues that maybe some of you weren't aware of. We've got all these other challenges. So how do we build housing in all of these circumstances? Any suggestions? Some suggestions from the floor. You've heard some presentations. What do we do to fix this? Help me out here. I guess it's just an overwhelming pressure. We're swimming against the tide. So there are some solutions. And I believe quite strongly that some of the solutions are in this room, in that you have a very friendly town administration, a very supportive town administration. That's kind of the micro level, is that there are these regulations, and in a lot of communities, it's just difficult to get things done. Why is it difficult? Well, there's the building department, there's the planning department, there's the NIMBY parade, there is the council, there's all these circumstances that prevent you from doing anything. And so I don't believe that that's the case here. So what's the best example of this community's commitment to build new housing? You could suggest. What is your community's biggest commitment to solving this problem? Anybody ever drive by Hillcrest at all? Know where that is? Anybody? Anybody know where that is? Yeah? Pardon? Okay. And so what's happening over there? It's sitting. Okay. But there was a lot of activity there. So what's happening on that site? Okay. But this community has made a very important decision to move that forward. And the municipality is not in the business of building housing, nor should they be. We live in kind of a free enterprise community, and it's kind of outside the mandate of the town to go and build the housing. But your community has made a very important step in the right direction, in that they've allowed for mixed use in this community. Does that term resonate with people? Do you know what mixed use is? Anybody? Friendly real.
It means it can be commercial, industrial, residential, all in the same area.
Correct. In the same building, you could even have residential and commercial. And in a lot of communities, that just doesn't happen. You have a commercial building. You can't put residential into a commercial building. Why? Because of the zoning. Who mentioned regulation here before? Mentioned regulation. So there is a move in Ontario. Again, we're down to the micro level where you could change the zoning. So in Hornpain, Ontario, a beautiful town, I would say, in Hornpain, we bought the Northwest Company store. It's about 8,000 square feet. It was zoned commercial. No tenant wanted to come into that building to replace that use. And so we approached the town and said, hey, we want to put 8 beautiful 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartments into this building. And we'd like a zoning change. So they said it's zoned commercial. We know that. We want you to change it and let us put residential in there. And so it's on it's adjacent to one of the main streets in Hornpain. And zoning was changed, and the apartments will open. I'm going to show you a little video. The apartments will open in September. And so the flexibility of the municipalities helps solve the problem. So it's not all bleak. We've got a really challenging macro environment, but you're fortunate here in town that you've got a very supportive local environment. And so there's 2 examples of mixed use and change of use that we've done, the apartments in Hornpain and the apartments in Dryden. So on the main floor in Dryden, we have 12,000 square feet of commercial space. Above that, we have 5,000 square feet of residential apartments. So municipalities, local municipalities getting creative to help solve that issue is super important. So we've got a friendly environment. Who said service lots? So we have, there is still a challenge here with some service lots, but the town has put their money where their mouth is, where their mind is, and has gone and serviced the Hillcrest site to your benefit and to all of our benefit. And I think it's a super important step that maybe wasn't quite fully appreciated. So where does that leave us now? So we would like to move forward and build a mixed-use building. I'm going to show you here what we would like to do on the Hillcrest site. And the last perspective is we're not a stranger to Sioux Lookout. We worked with Todd and Tracy Nadon on the dollar store, which was completed, I think, about 18 months ago. We did a severance with the town. We separated the land that we had on Alcona Drive, built the store for Todd and Tracy. We're working with your wonderful building department to get our permitting to build the extended stay suite Studio 6 hotel on Sturgeon River Road. And I can't compliment the town enough for its flexibility in adding some additional land to that parcel to allow us to achieve the parking variance, which we just had approved 2 weeks ago. So now that project can move forward. So we have several projects here, and maybe we could show the video. You have two there.
Which one do you want first? There's an if
the
no
one that starts with 00, yes.
Yep. Okay.
So I'm going to give you a little view of the site. So this is the site, and then we acquired that just to the left. You'll see a treed lot that's close to your traffic circle. We just acquired that privately to bookmark that onto the site. So this is what a mixed-use building would look like. It has commercial on the main floor, and it has apartments on the second floor. We did an artist conception for a dental office, and it'll give you a little bit of a sense. I think this is, it'll take you into the building in a second, and give you some site views. And we were approached by another organization to do a conception for an office, and you've got a parking cone now.
I want that other video next.
Okay, so let's go to the other video. I'd like to show you what we're doing. This is our Horn Pain project. 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom. These are about, they're a shade under 1,000 square feet. They're 950 square feet. So in some communities, that's kind of the size of a small bungalow. All of our units come with in-suite washer dryer. All of our units come with 2 bathrooms. And 2 bedrooms. I'll go over there. I think that'll spin around to the ensuite bathroom. We build all of our units with walk-in showers in the master bedroom to allow for an age in place. Maybe you can't quite jump over the bathtub as you get older, so we put in a walk-in shower in the master bedroom, and open concept kitchen and living room area. And that gives you a sense, and then you jump off the second floor. No, just kidding. So it gives you a little bit of a artist conception. So what do we want to do here? Ours is right down to brass tacks. We want to build between 14 and 16 apartments above the main floor commercial. We've had a lot of success with partnerships. So we have approached several organizations and institutions here in town to see if they have a need for apartments. They want to, if they would partner in on the lease. We're a developer, we're a contractor, we will build it, we will put it up. What we're looking for is to partner with a local organization or two, both on the commercial side, but also for the apartments are kind of the key element that we're looking to undertake here. Rents in Sioux Lookout, unfortunately, are very high. But fortunately, rents in Sioux Lookout are very high, which can allow some development to go through. If you go to a community that doesn't have a lot going on, then it's hard to get kind of market rents that will pay out what you need to pay out in order to build them. So we have a wonderful service site. We have a wonderful municipal administration that is very pro-development, that would like to see these things happen. And we'd like to undertake a mixed-use building on the Hillcrest site. I'm going to be over there. If anyone would like to approach to discuss further, then happy to have an offline conversation and to take any general questions that you may have right now. But thank you very much for your time and attention. Any general questions or? Okay, thank you so much. Feel free to approach after the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ben. That was an amazing presentation. That concludes all of our talks for today. So you're welcome now to visit the tables, ask anyone any questions that you might have. We have a table at the back for the municipality if you have any questions for us. And yeah, that's it. Thank you all for coming, and thank you all to our speakers today.